But let me get you back to our major story tonight, which is what happened today at the Senate. We will not end this program until about 8:30 tonight, an extension of time, so that we can monitor and be able to have conversations around what has happened today. Let me show you what really happened. Mr. Faultless Keyamo, you know him. He faced the National Assembly, the Senate, in the screening, and this was what went wrong. Senator Darlington, who is the minority whip, this is what question he posed to him about how Mr. Keyamo reacted to the questions and the query over the public works project which he handled under his office. Take a listen to what happened earlier.
Has started showing us the right hand. We must follow along that side to make sure that we work with him in that right hand as well. Therefore, Mr. President of the Senate, I'm of the opinion that we hold this down a little bit, and I move a motion that we suspend forthwith this nomination and wait until when this is left, so that he can freely work in our environment and tell Nigerians, I have perfectly done well because this record has been put straight. That is my submission, Mr. Senate President. I rest my case.
I do support that this nominee should be stepped down pending when he decides that the National Assembly has that right to inquire into the workings of a minister and his ministry.
You have it. That's what happened after those motions moved by opposition lawmakers, Senator Darlington and Senator Abaribe, and that was what happened. Senate adjourned at that time. Senate President went to the presidential villa. He had an executive session. Mr. Keyamo apologized. We look at the politics of the screening. Eventually, he got screened. Eventually, he got confirmed. But 3 names are now missing in the confirmation list. Mr. Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State, and also some member from Delta State, Stella Okotete, and Abubakar Danladi from Taraba State. Those 3 names are missing. We'll go on a short break, and Honorable Bimbo Daramola will be analyzing these issues for us, giving us insight on what has happened, and will be giving us insight on the fact that he's being in the National Assembly, what kind of politics he's playing behind the scene, and what do we need to know why these 3 persons, Nasir El-Rufai and the 2 others, may not get their confirmation immediately. What could have happened? We'll be getting to those insights. Don't forget, we're going up to 8:30. Stick around with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Everyone for staying with us. So I showed you what it looked like when they took up Mr. Keyamo and they wanted to step it down. But there was a closed session, an executive session afterwards, the adjourned session. The Senate President had to go to the villa. He came back. They reconvened at about a few minutes before 4 p.m. And eventually they made Mr. Keyamo do something. Well, if you know him, you might feel that this might be a difficult one for him, but I'll allow you to listen to what exactly Festus Keyamo did when they reconvened. Take a listen to him.
At all, I apologize. There are only 2 things I just need to say before I go, because we are before the world. 1 or 2 things. One is that regarding that program, because once Nigerians hear a figure, their ears go up. Hey, what big figure has been mentioned? No. Regarding that program, every single payment, and I insisted to the past president that it must come from the central bank directly to the accounts of the people who were nominated to receive those funds. And so we as ministers, both ministers in the ministry and the head of the agency at that time that we supervised, never saw 1 kobo. It was straight. All we needed to do was to generate the list and pass to the CBN. And the CBN paid directly from the CBN account to those individual accounts. Till today, as I say, we did not see, nothing even came to the account of that agency. And today, I make a promise that the entire register of everybody that received that amount per local government, their accounts, their account numbers and BVN We insisted on BVN. Every detail is available at the National Director of Employment. Anybody can go there and ask for a copy. We have it in a flash and confirm every single one with a BVN number. And they are all there for complete transparency. Till today, we did not see one cover of that. I needed to make that clarification. And like I said, I'm sorry for that misunderstanding.
Professor Keyamo apologizing. They did accept his apology and moved a motion to adopt his apology, which means that it goes into the record of the National Assembly. It came as a form of a motion which was adopted, and then he was allowed to take a bow and go eventually. Let's get to talk about all of these and also about the three persons. What happened to Nasir El-Rufai? What happened to Stella Okotete and the nominee from Nasarawa State, Bimbo Daramola, a former member of the House of Representatives, has been with me right here in the studio. Thank you so much, Honorable, for joining us tonight. What do you think has been going on? Let's begin with Professor Keyamo's matter. Did you see that coming?
Yes, I knew it was going to happen. Let me tell you two quick things in Yoruba. The first one is Aki Bauri Adeja Otumbeni. You don't fight the crown and expect that you pray in the name of the crown and your prayers will be answered, number one. Number two is Iya Ajeku. One do know what and the literal translation is that the mother witch died, and then you go to town jumping and rejoicing that, oh, the woman who's been traumatized in this town is eventually dead. Don't forget, that's what that axiom is saying. Don't forget that the daughter that the mother witch left behind can also kill.
It's capable of
absolutely can wreak havoc. Now, between screening and investigation, yes, those two words are used interchangeably, but they mean two different things, and I've tried to research into that. You can screen for yellow fever, but you need to investigate the cause of yellow fever. Direct nexus with this would be that you can investigate for crimes, whether you have certificates or all of that, but you can only screen for comportment. Now, my brother and friend, Festus, extremely cerebral, SAN, and everybody knows him. His record, his history goes before him. Nobody can fault Festus Keyamo SAN on the basis of intellect, all right? But one thing that had become a recurring decima, unfortunately so also, is the fact that Mr. Festus Keyamo SAN had a feisty relationship with the parliament for all of this time. That would border on disdain, that would border on disrespect. Your body language when you come to parliament. Everybody is watching that, knowing too well that your appearance before the parliament is not just before the 109 or 360 members. It's before an arm of government. So if you're going to walk in with chips on your shoulders and then giving an attitude, and you have non-verbal communication, and the Senate will read that. The parliament all over the world will read that. One time, a very brilliant Nigerian appeared before my committee. I chaired that committee. His name is one of the I've forgotten now, Azikwe's or something like that. Who used to head SEC or something. And he just came he appeared before the committee, and he just strolled in with hands in his pocket. And he didn't make presentation, no documents, he didn't have any paper to speak to. And I told, I wasn't chairing, I was a member of that committee, and I told that committee chair, I said, no, what was his name? Honorable El Sudi. I told him, I said, no, we won't take this guy. You're not appearing, you're not strolling into my lounge or my restroom or something like that. You must dignify the parliament for all it is worth, regardless of whoever makes it into the parliament.
So the National Assembly wants its pride intact.
It's about the institution.
Even if the National Assembly is wrong at some point, you just need to respect them. Is that the case?
Now, let me say this to you.
Because in the case of Keyamo,
lawyers have
without having to make a judgment on whether the National Assembly was right at the time or Keyamo was wrong or right at the time, even if the National Assembly was right or wrong, you have to still be humble. Is that the case?
Two things. Oh, right. Number one, two things. You must recognize in its entirety that this is not about individuals. This is about institutions, number one. Number two is the fact that the Parliament has historical, institutional memory and historical recollections to say, oh, this guy, when he appeared at this time. And then number three is the fact that these 109 and 360 people are not acting for themselves. They are acting at the behest of the people who voted for them, 220 million of them. And so, whatever respect you give to that institution, and by extension the members, you already give it to Nigerians. In any case, ministers are representatives of the president who would act by delegated authority. So you will expect that when you show up, and that is why when you appear before the Parliament and you're going to leave, you would have to bow. You don't bow to your subordinates, you bow to your superiors.
So it's to the institution.
Oh yes, when the president, even the president, comes to the National Assembly to put the budget of this federation right on the table there, when he finishes his speech and all of that, well, I mean, he goes there and he does this. Have you forgotten? He bows before them. Not bowing to the Senate president, he's bowing to the institution. And you don't bow to your subordinate, you bow to your superior.
Do you think that Mr. Keyamo was humbled in some ways?
I reckon so. And I think...
Or was for the sake of the screening anyway?
And then Senator Darlington, who moved that motion, also was there at the Ninth Assembly, I guess.
A few of them who were in the House then.
And then we saw all of these things happen anyway. And most of them are avoidable. What this Parliament is also saying is that, explain. Don't take it personal.
Even if there are possible underhandlings,
yes,
allegedly involving some of these lawmakers, you don't think that a citizen has a right to stand his ground?
Shane, let me say something to you. Two instances will suffice. Bosun Tijani
from Ogun State.
Right. And then Festus Keyamo, SCN, my brother and friend. You can see that. There's an institutional memory. There are recollections that people will keep, or that the institution will keep, and then bring before you. And that is where screening and investigation comes into it. You can be investigated if your certificates are not complete, but comportment is what you screen for. And what the law says is you will be screened. So I expect that now that this has happened, I will expect that a different trajectory starts from here going forward between the Parliament and SCN.
You know, there are those who will feel that maybe the National Assembly is up to some vendetta. I mean, you had some fighty, storming sessions with some persons when they choose and cherry pick those words that some of those who are not, who do not really like how the National Assembly or the Senate had gone with their screening process, and those who will say, even when you needed to engage intellectuals who could bring substance, they did not. But when they saw those who they think had opposed them in the past, they went after them like a lion saw its prey.
Yeah. It could be read like that.
Like a vendetta?
Well, maybe not vendetta. I mean, I'm not too sure Senator Darlington has anything to expect from any minister. He's a senator anyway. So he's going to run his time. Nobody can take him. He can't get a recall.
If there was no political intervention, because I'm still going to come there, because I discover and I see that it seems that it was a political intervention in the case of Festus Keyamo. It was almost going to be stepped aside.
Yeah. Well, let me say this to you. I digress. I need to give it to this Senate. From this little bit that I see, to the extent that this Senate obviously has showed a sense of duty, purpose, and commitment. And they now, this is a clear show of the fact that they recognize that they have a job, they have an obligation to Nigerians. Listen, they have sat through their mandatory recess period, and then in execution of a major duty that may hamper the running of government. So they would rather not go fiddling like Nero and then expect that Rome would survive the ascent. So they have said to themselves, no, we got to clear these guys, make sure that the components of government are in place before we go on recess, wherever they find themselves. So that's a sense of duty and purpose, and I give it to them. And I digress a little bit. The President of the Senate, His Excellency Godswill Obota Pabio, I think has done well. he's managed the House in a manner that would suggest that, yes, I want to be seen to be doing the right thing. So sometimes very indulgent. Senate gets very indulgent sometimes, and Nigerians are sticky about that, and legitimately so. There are people that have showed up before this Senate that Nigerians feel that no, we wouldn't like these guys to be screened and all of that. But the truth of the matter is that the ultimate decision of who goes through the portals of the National Assembly and walks into the Federal Executive Council depends on what the decision these 109 guys make.
We'll take a break. But when we come back, Honorable, we will look in details. I know from day one, you never like to be called an honorable. You like to be called a congressman, but you're not in the United States.
It doesn't matter, but it's a presidential system of government anyway.
Just like parliament will not work, it's not a term that is allowable in Nigeria. Legislature is what is. I mean, but that's what we adopted. That's what we adopted.
It's not.
That's what we adopted.
If we adopted something and that's something we have adopted in error, I have the duty to say no. This is in error. You just talked about cherry picking now. So you pick what you like and you drop. Okay, we're National Assembly. It's the Congress there.
The same way you will look at the word analyzing, and the Americans will use Z, and the English will use the S. The same way, the honorable member.
Your PhD now, so I'm not as.
We take a break, everyone. When we come back, Congressman, that's what we call him. My former member of the House of Reps is still with us, and we're going to be talking more in details on the politics of the screening exercise. So, President Bola Tinubu now has 45 men and women that will be serving as cabinet members. 3 people are now being left out. Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State, Abubakar Danladi of Nasarawa State, Stella Okotete from Delta State. Will these people be able to get confirmed? If not, what will happen? Can President Bola Tinubu get his cabinet in place tomorrow or whenever? Because there's a lot of work to be done. The nation needs to be fixed. We'll take a break and we'll be right back, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Abubakar Danladi from Taraba State, not Nasarawa State. Stella Okotete for Delta State. Nasir El-Rufai of Kaduna State. The 3 persons have not been confirmed, and we understand these are about the issues of security. Congressman Bimbo Daramola, former member of the House of Reps, has been speaking with us on the program tonight. Thank you so much indeed.
Sure.
You look at the manner in which these have gone, the screening exercise, and you also look at the quality of persons. Do you think that the president, considering his history in Lagos and the fact that you look at the kind of people that has worked with him, that have worked with him before, the Professor Yemi Oshibajo, the Babatunde Fashola, the Opeyemi Bamideles of this world, the Wale Eduns, the Dele Alakes of this world, that have worked with him when they were way younger, 20 years or more years ago. And you look at even the Amber days, the present governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, that have worked with him, and the caliber of intellectuals that have been around him, and you compare them with the quality of cabinet for the 8 persons that he has put together, are you impressed?
Am I impressed? Well, yes, and partly no. First and foremost, give it to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Is renowned for headhunting. We've heard that. And of course, there are a number of people out of these 48 that everybody will nearly say, oh, good check, good check, good check. And there are people, that you feel that, granted what I know about these guys, granted, now make no mistakes about this, Shion. When the president nominated his cabinet in Lagos, that's Lagos State, okay? This is Nigeria, where all manner of things are going to come into consideration. It goes beyond, okay, let me backtrack a little bit. When he was governor in Lagos State, he was a lot younger. And then he had so much of energy, I believe he still does, you know. But right now, he would have to deal with sensibilities. You just saw Senator Nwoye raised a matter of national importance, talking about the number of ministerial nominees coming from the Southeast. 5 from Southeast, 9 from Northwest,
right?
About 10 or so from Northwest, Southwest 9. Yeah, but
North Central, I think about 7.
So, and that's legitimate. You remember that the Senate president had to call the Senate leader, who has also done very well. I'm not surprised that he's done so well, but in quick turnaround time, come on. Now, he called him and called Senator Nwoye and intervened. And I reckon that matter will also be solved politically. But let me say this to you. Alongside every one person that we've had issues about their nomination, we've also found a Bosun there. Bosun Tijani there, who I bet the president had never met. So give it to him.
41-year-old.
41-year-old. He had never met Bosun. And granted the kind of things that people presented on the floor of the Senate about Bosun, an ordinary president, another regular human being would have said, hey, trash this name. But guess what? He said no. For the quality and the capacity that he seemed to have coming from the private sector, and enough to send a non-verbal communication to Nigerians that I can deal with inclusiveness. I can deal with the fact that young people also have something to deliver. Oh yeah, bring Bosun to the train. That's on that side. But there are also people that I feel that maybe they're a little bit tired. Maybe they should. Maybe the space, the political space also would do well to have them take a breather and then have fresh of clean hair, you know. But then it's okay. In the judgment of the president, we will expect that he had gone through all of this and then he had thought them through and then probably felt that, okay, fine, this guy has the capacity to do this and capacity to do that. Ultimately, highs on the ball.
So you look at the likes of Dr. Tunji Alausa, a nephrologist.
Look at that.
Fantastic profile.
Look at that.
You look at look at the likes of Lola Adejon. You look at the likes of Tunji Ojo, a 2-time member, Electronics and Communications Engineering from London Metropolitan University.
Look at that.
You look at quite a list of personalities. Tahir Mama, Professor of Law.
Dr. Pate.
Dr. Pate. You look at these caliber of persons. In fact, better Edu, perhaps one of the youngest in the lot, and a medical doctor who is being a former commissioner in our state and all what have you. But a mixture, like I said, a mixed bag, you will call it. But then, what comes out to you the most in all of these? Because not only having nominees that are capable, that have good profile, is also knowing where to put them.
Oh yeah.
You have more than 4 or so medical doctors already in that team.
Yeah.
Just like Buhari had almost 10 lawyers in his team.
Well, a lot of people have spoken about this, that maybe the 10th Senate and 10th National Assembly will go down their path and compare, you know, introduce that clause in the nomination of people for positions. Maybe the 10th Assembly can have the president also furnish the Senate with positions alongside names. Maybe that will also help them to screen them.
This is not the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, since...
but again,
this is not the first time that Nigerians and even senators have always said this.
Yeah.
If the screening is to help Nigerians know the caliber and also even prepare the minds of those who are coming forward, I think there should be a law in place that going forward, no president should transmit names of members of our nominees without portfolios, don't you think?
Well, I mean, like we've said that, but you see, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as we speak today, leaves a whole lot to discretion. Section 148, clearly, subsection 1, addresses that. The president may, in his discretion, you know, assign to the vice president or the minister of the government of the federation responsibility for any business of the government of the federation, including the administration of any department. So it's discretionary.
Well, so I'm saying, just the same way there was an amendment, a fifth alteration to the Constitution, which included that the president and the governors will now have to transmit names of their cabinet members in 60 days. Before, it was unending.
President Buhari didn't bring anybody.
Does it make sense for us to go through this screening without having portfolios to question them on?
Brilliant question.
But question someone on medical, the person gets to be taken to water resources. So it's sheer waste of energy and
maybe
time.
Don't look at it very clinically like that. You will expect that you can also test a man who has capacity in different areas. The only areas where you cannot send, it will not be expected that you're sending non-professionals to, will be places like aviation. Because basic thing is the fact that you have demonstrated some capacity from where you're coming from.
Okay, Abubakar Danladi from Taraba, Stella Okotete from Delta, Nasir El-Rufai, not confirmed. What comes to your mind?
Well, let me pick the last one. Governor El-Rufai. I watched that screen. I watched him before the Senate. Of course, I digress a little bit. He also, on the downside of it, has had some feisty time with the National Assembly from his days as BPP. But I'm not too sure that that's the issue. I remember that Senator Karimi stood up and then raised an envelope like that and then showed it and said, well, I like the fact that you are capable, you are competent and all that. I said, but write in this document, write in this envelope, I have something, a petition against you that borders on security. Yeah.
And that's enough?
Oh, yeah. Whatever that may be. And I'm too sure this matter will sit before the president. I'm too sure President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and if it's something that they can negotiate and walk through it, I'm too sure they will. I am not too sure that the capacity of Nasir El-Rufai is in doubt. I'm not too sure. A whole lot of people may not agree with me, and I have my issues a little bit about that as well. But the truth of the matter is that for whatever reason, that reason must be cogent enough. And then for Stella Okotete, I think she pitched the Senate very well, spoke the right words. As executive director, she said right things, and she's flaunted what she's done as well. So only God and the Senate knows what's going on there. Abubakar Danladi may be the same thing, for the same reasons.
Bimbo Daramola, former member of the House of Reps, likes to be called a congressman. Thank you so much indeed.
I used to work in Congress.
You worked in the National Assembly, not in the Congress.
Okay.
But one day, maybe you might find yourself in the American Congress.
No, I don't carry two passports. I have just one passport.
All right, thank you so much.